Hey, everybody. I just want to take a moment and introduce our first activity for COJO 121 this spring. So that activity is the communication log. So the thing with the communication log is we're going to be tracking how we communicate. Now, in my day, I get up in the morning, I'll spend about 10 minutes, catch up on the news. I do Duolingo because I'm trying to learn Spanish. I quickly shift into checking my email, going through email, getting set for the day. Then, more often than not, I'll have to connect into Zoom and have meetings with uh, other peers that I'm working with students, just generally work. Um, Probably I squeak in playing on social media throughout the day. And then finally, I wrap up my day. I'll watch a little, part of the news hour in the evening. Uh, so that's the way I communicate through the day. I talk face to face also with a few people, and on the phone very rarely. Okay, so when I do that across the day, there I'm pulling in information and I'm taking in external sensory information to understand my world and figure out how to engage with and interact with it. Okay, those are the only sensory inputs I have, are these mediums through which I uh, pull in external sensory information. Okay, so we're going to be talking a lot about that in this class, the mediums through which we get external information, and then what we do internally with that information to make meaning out of it. So what we're talking about there is the base communication unit. And as I went through my day and I took information in from all those different sources or those mediums, sometimes I'll call them channels or platforms, whatever you want to call it, as I brought in that information, I was engaging in this base communication unit, which is grounded in the transactional model of communication. You'll find a link to a quick video on what that is in the Google Classroom. Um, and so the idea of this base communication unit is that uh, whenever I am communicating with the world around me, what's going on is I'm sending out some kind of signal to that world. That's the start of a communication unit, is a signal is sent out uh, to a receiver who receives that information, does something with it, and then sends back another signal to me. Whatever that signal is, could be verbal, could be nonverbal, doesn't matter, but they send out something that I get back. Okay, so I've sent something out, then I get something back, and then here's the important part. Once I get that information back, I have to make some kind of change, some kind of internal change that adapts from what I sent out to what I got back to build or increase meaning in my world. Now, these could be really small things, not earth-shattering things at all. It could be that I say something and somebody raises their eyebrows, and I realize, oh, I said something very confusing. That's the learning I make, or the change I make, because internally I've changed. I sent something out that I thought was straightforward and made sense. I got something back that made me change and realize that, oh no, that wasn't so confusing. Maybe I need to try something else. Okay. It's that last step, that internal change part, that completes the base communication unit and makes for a full cycle of communication. In my base communication unit, when I send something out, that's the first step. The second step is that somebody receives it. Okay. The third step is they send some information back to me about how they received it. And the fourth step is that I make internal change based on that information I got back. That's the complete unit. Now, depending on the mediums through which we're communicating, those units get completed at different rates. I might start one that doesn't get finished. I might start one in the morning that doesn't get finished until later in the day, say an email, right? Or even the next morning. I might, on the other hand, have a conversation with a person face to face or through Zoom, And we'll be completing those base units all over the place with almost every little statement and visual or body language, nonverbal utterance. So those base units get started and completed at different rates throughout the day. And a lot of that has to do with the mediums that we're using to communicate. So that's kind of the second part of the theory in this week, is this idea that the tools we use, the mediums that we communicate through, shape how we perceive the world, and that it's reflective. The tools we use shape how we perceive the world, how we understand the world. How we understand the world dictates what tools we use. And it's often an invisible process that we don't see going on. And depending on the tools we use and how we interpret it and how we move between tools, like from video to email to face to writing an actual paper letter, depending on how we move those, that shapes the very foundations of how we understand our world. Okay. And so this week, what we're going to do as in our assignment is we're going to look and systematically record or observe how we communicate with the external world. Okay, so that's